Everyone, this is Mike Long with Tadiran Telecom. I'd like to thank you for coming into today's webinar. It's an Aeonix version 2.4 update. It's led by John McAnulty. Lindsay's also on the call if we get any questions that he needs to address. It's going to take about, John's going to do some slides for probably about 35-40 minutes, and then we'll open it up to questions and answers. I'm recording the session, so have the deck and the recording available. It immediately send me an email, mike.long@tadiranamerica.com, but we'll have this available on the partner portal also. So thanks for coming in, everybody. We're going to try to hold the questions until the end after the PowerPoint. Pre-time, John, you ready to go?
Yeah, I am. Can you hear okay?
Loud.
Okay. Coming today, we're going to do a webinar on the Aeonix version 2.4 update. And first I'm going to go through some slides, although what I'm going to do is after I cover a particular topic, I may shoot over to my live system just to show you the corresponding vision screens that we just talked about. So I'll be bouncing back and forth between the PowerPoints and the live sim. And as Mike says at the end, if you have any questions, we'll do our best to answer them for you. All right, so this presentation is going to give us an overview on the features and enhancements that have been added on the Aeonix version 2.4. And we'll go into detail on everything in this webinar. So what we plan to do is to provide future webinars to provide greater detail on specific enhancements. One is the Aeonix logger. So that in itself we could spend a couple hours on. So this is just going to be an overview of what's new in version 2.4 since version 2.3. And Aeonix version 2.4 is starting beta testing next week. If you want to become a beta site, get in touch with Kobe and his software for doing that. And if you want software to use in your lab, that's also okay. So you'll make those arrangements with Kobe. He wants to control it and know exactly what deals and what sites the beta site is going to be deployed at. The installation prerequisites, as always, you need to make sure that the version has all the associated component applications are at a compatible level with the Aeonix. So if Aeonix is version 2.4, then the ACC has to be a certain version, the CMail should be a certain version, the gateways should all be at a certain version, the T300 and T40 phones, although that's pretty much automatically controlled by the Aeonix itself, because with provisioning, those firmware levels are automatically loaded to the correct levels. Korea and flip soft phones are other examples. As true of any level. When we had version 2.3, there was an associated set of levels that were required also. So those will be spelled out clearly in a release note that will be provided in the future. Let's talk about some of the new features and enhancements in Aeonix 2.4. And what we're going to talk about are, we do support a couple new phones, the T48G and the T19. Then some updates in the provisioning. We support Hyper-V as well as the VMware that we've done previously. The Logger has changed for the better. It's much than what it was before. As far as in the past, we had to basically do a port mirroring on the network, but now that's no longer necessary. We're going to use monitoring to achieve the monitoring of different conversations. We've expanded the number of music on hold sources. The licensing has been enhanced for the better. Make it easier to license the system and keep the system updated. FP support enhancements of that as well. Call, admissions control as far as SIP terminals registering to the system. Some that are to the at the station level. We've added auto redial, flash mode. We have 4 different modes of using the flash. New phone icons, so when you program up the phones in the GUI, you'll see new icons there. We've combined audio, done support, and we've made some enhancements to the maintenance tool. So we're going to go into a little bit more detail on each of those items. Documentation is concerned, the document you're going to want to go through is the new development summary document and show you the changes from 2.3 to 2.4. Currently in its final draft, but once the document is finalized, it'll be put on the website. Once to be beta site, though, of course, we'll get you the document as it is right now. And again, it's in its final draft. It's 95% complete. Just a couple of minor things that need to be updated in it. As a matter of fact, I'll flip over and show you real quick the document. So it's still a draft, but again, it's almost ready. To put a document, I read through it and learned all these different features just by going through this document. And so go through what's new in version 2.4. There's several more things that are new than I put into the webinar. I didn't want to shoot this webinar out too long, so I pretty much put the major items that are new in 2.4, but there are more than what I'm going to cover in the webinar, and you can see those through this document. And so it also what was new in version 2.3 as well. And into this document, it goes through some of the products that are end of life. Okay. Well, as far as documentation is concerned, you'll be able to download this PowerPoint, and this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the website. As getting the beta software version 4, it will be available for download on the website once it's released for general availability. But again, you want to be a beta site, coordinate with Kobe on that, and of course, he'll give you a FTP site where you can pull that software down. All right, all the different enhancements. Again, we've added 2 more phones to our family. The 48G and the T19 have been added, and these phones are going to be part of the Aeonix auto provisioning to go along with all the other phones we have, the T300 and the T40 series phones that are already there. 48G is a very nice phone. It's got a 6-inch 800 by 480 pixel color touchscreen with back high def, just like all of the 10-SIP phones, dual port Ethernet. It's a high-end phone with touchscreen, but also with demand for more of an entry-level, cost-effective phone. So that's why we've now introduced the T19. It's an entry-level PoE phone with full duplex speakerphone. It's a 192 by 64 pixel graphical LCD, and it has 4 soft keys. So again, this is the entry-level, low-end phone. So it's meant to support just the one SIP account. And so there's this next shot is giving us a phone profile. I pulled this out of the Aeonix and the phone profile for the T48G, and it's a touch screen. There are no buttons to the right or left because you'll be just activating the different features by touching the screen. And then as programmable buttons are concerned, there are 4 soft keys below here that you can program. And it also supports the expansion module. Our new economical VoIP phone, is so supported by the auto provisioning. And it's a shot of it here, and you can see there are no line keys here because it's just the one account. You just have, the SIP account, the one line, if you want to call it that. You can, of course, support more than one call behind that one line. And as far as the programming is concerned, in the provisioning, there are 4 soft keys below that you can program. We've enhanced in the provisioning, besides adding those phones, is there were some that you needed to enable, or capabilities you needed to enable by into the configuration files and editing them with the text editor. And so what we covered is 2 of the more common things that were typically being changed were to up VLANs, and as well as to turn off or on the logo that toggled on the T41 and T42 phones. So what we've done is we've taken those out. Well, we've put them into the GUI, so you don't need to go into the config file and edit the file. You can do it right through the GUI now. Okay. Before I go to that, I want to show you in the system what that looks like. So I'm going to escape out of here for the moment to my lab system, and I'll log in. And if I go into ones here, get into the profile so you can see the differences that we have now. And excuse me, let me go over to the phone. Here's the profile that's bound to a T42G, and of course we have the default provisioning profile, and we have the SIP servers and all that. But you see that we have the SIP logo mode enabled or disabled, and we also have the settings for VLAN. So you would set the VLAN port and the priority and the ID of the VLAN all through the provision. Now you don't need to go into the config file to do that. The thing is, if you upgrade an existing customer that's using the VLAN, in other words, you've tweaked the config file to set VLANs on the network for the Aeonix. I need to be careful about doing the upgrade because now you have those settings in the GUI here. So what you need to do is we'll check with tech support on the proper way to upgrade from your existing system to version 2.4. We don't want you to accidentally do an upgrade and then it pulls in the VLAN settings from the GUI, which maybe you haven't configured, and it would wipe out the settings that you have in the phone. So there is a proper procedure for upgrading a system that already has a VLAN version 2.4. So just touch base with support on that upgrade. Okay, shoot back to our PowerPoint again. There are the 2 main changes, the VLAN and the T41, T42 toggle. Next, Hyper-V support. We now support Hyper-V. Now, we've previously already supported VMware. So we are certified with VMware, and it can run on any server that is compatible with the ESXi 5.0 or higher. But now, as of version 2.4, the Hyper-V virtualization option is supported with Windows Server 2012. The logger, we've made some great enhancements in the Aeonix logger. The Aeonix logger is a separate PC server, which utilises a soft key license to activate. Prior to this version, it was a dongle that was used to activate the license, but now it's a soft key on the server. Previous to version 2.4, this logger really only worked in a passive mode. So we had a fixed set of phones that were always being recorded constantly. We've greatly improved that in version 2.4, and we now support active recording. And that allows any endpoint or logical entity in the system to be recorded. It includes even items or phones that are on the Wave gateway, including phones and digital trunks, and of course any of the VoIP phones, SIP trunks, user entities. Even like the ULA and ACC agents can be designated for recording. And 50 simultaneous recordings per Aeonix server in the server. If you have more than one server, then you can multiply the number of servers times 50 for the maximum number of simultaneous recording channels. Okay, now in the logger we have a big rule engine, and what that is you set up rules that can be defined to specify which calls you want to record. And those rules can be based on the entity type, whether user or particular phone or an ACC agent. There's other parameters like the caller ID that came in, the DNS came in, the time of day, and other parameters. Rules up ahead of time, and automatically when a call comes in, it'll check the rules, and if it matches any of the rules, it'll start to record that call. Now, into the rules, we can do a record on demand. So, calls recorded by just pressing a predefined record on demand button. And it will light up to indicate that the record mode is activated. And you can activate the record on demand in just about any state, whether your phone is ringing, you're listening to ring back, or a call's been put on hold, obviously an idle condition, or in conversation. And this is supported by all digital, MGCP, and ESF-enabled SIP phones. I'm going to switch over real quick and show you that basic rule engine. Okay. So my lab system, and that's found in the services, in the service list. And we see now that we have call recording at one of our services. On that, and I have a rule in here that I made up earlier. And this rule for recording all calls that come in from the 212 area, Manhattan, and I want the tech support. Anytime the tech support take that call, I want it to be recorded automatically. So the rule sets that up. So it says record calls on, and then I picked user. Different options. You could record by phone or the trunk group or ULA or ACC agent, etc. And you can set a, for example, I picked user. Now I could have picked a specific user, or I can select a range of users. Let's say I have a range of folks that are in tech support. And time frame, and I could say every day, all day. Say every day, I could uncheck that, and I could pick what days during the week I want to record that type of call. Could also, click on time zone and specify that as well. And here is where I say for a particular caller ID. So I say if the caller ID is 212, so Manhattan call come to tech support is automatically going to be recorded. And of course, you could add more and more rules on top of this. Okay, rule. You can toggle it on or off whether you want that rule to be active or not. Flexible with the logger now. All right, let's switch back to my PowerPoint. Use and hold. We made some nice enhancements in that. Now, prior to version 2.4, when those were placed on hold, they played music from the audio file defined for the whole system. So it was one music source. Everyone could hear it. It was Spring Love at default. You could change it, of course. As of 2.4, we've greatly enhanced it. Now we support up to 10 streaming music sources or an unlimited number of music services using the audio files. And what you can do is for each music source, you can assign it to a range of aliases. So if that alias puts a call on hold, it will use the music source that's been allocated to it. If you don't assign any aliases to any of the music sources, they will continue to use the default music source. I'll show you that in the programming as well, and that's going to be under services. I have a service called music. I made up one music source for the tech group. And this might be even a promotional music on hold, where you're going to talk about the different services your company gives, or particular items that are essential for tech support, like please have your site ID ready, you must be a certified dealer, things like that. So you can specify whether you want the music source to be provided by a file or by IP stream. In this example, we selected IP stream, and we can have up to 10 IP streams. And the way we differentiate the different IP streams is by the IP port that's used. And if you click on the drop-down, there are 10 different ports. So that you could have 10 different IP streams. If you use a file, you can record whatever files you want, various codecs that we support, and then load those into the Aeonix, and then those will be available in the drop-down along with all of the other audio files that are in Aeonix. And you can assign them to a range of aliases if you wish. And, if you don't have a consecutive range, well, you can put in one range, and then you can add another individual aliases to use that particular music source. As far as the streaming device that we use, we've done testing with a company called Aeonix. I'm just going to show you the website that I'm on. I have a link up here somewhere. Okay, so here it is. This is Aeonix, and it's in-streamer. So it's going to take your music source and it's going to convert it to IP, and that stream is going to be sent to the Aeonix. And if you look at the different applications for this box, for example, it supports background music and music on hold for VoIP applications. So we'll do with the specific models that we've tested, but it is from this company, Aeonix, that we've done testing with. And I'm sure other products will work, but we want to be able to give you at least one recommendation for the IP streaming. Is music on hold. Licensing enhancements. The licensing process has been simplified and automated. So for new licenses, if you have a brand new installation that's licensed, we've made it a lot easier. So for a new license, you'll start the licensing server and you'll enter your product key in the Aeonix. Key is what you've gotten back from customer service. And you're putting PO for all the different particular licensing that you want for your Aeonix. And then what will happen is you can have the Aeonix will then connect to the licensing server and download the license and install it. Options that we now have for licensing is you can elect a new licensing server. So let's have a clustered system. You have multiple servers. One of those servers is a licensing server. If the existing licensing server goes down, prior to version 2.4, well, you just went into a grace period, and your grace period wasn't about to expire, but the grace period would allow your system to continue working. Now added an option where you can elect another server in the cluster to be the licensing server. And last new enhancement is the automatic updates, and you can configure the Aeonix to automatically check at midnight updates for the licensing. the tech can manually check for updates as he always has in the past. Of a new installation, and of course the new installation, it's not licensed yet. So what you can do is you go to the licensing, and there's a new tab called Manage License, and you would specify which server in the cluster you want to be the licensing server, and enter in the product key that you get from customer service, and activate. And basically what the Aeonix will then do all the work. The Aeonix is going to connect to the licensing server. It's going to load the fingerprint file, product key, and it's going to download the V2C file, which is the licensing file, and load it onto the Aeonix. Gives you all of the manual work that you did in the past, where you had to actually pull the C to V and then manually connect up to the licensing server and enter C to V and enter the product key and to do all that. So we're trying to automate the process more for you. Topic is SNMP support enhancements. And Aeonix is able to connect to now, as of 2.4, able to connect to an industry standard SNMP version 2 or version 3 compliant application. And that's true for both the Aeonix alarms and the Wave Gateway and MP agents. They'll send trap messages to the network management system server. Alarms config page, that's where we're going to set up the IP address, the port, user and password, and the different protocols that we need to connect up to the NMS system. And Wave Gateway also is set so it can send alarm updates to the Aeonix, which in turn will send updates to the S server. Okay, again, I'm going to switch over to my lab system and show that set up. So you need to go into and here on the right side, we've added these settings here. This is going to go away. This really is not applicable. So the right side we're going to deal with here. And this is where we're going to specify the IP address and the host name of the NMS system and what port you're going to communicate on. And here you can set up the username, authentication protocols that you want to use, and the ports for that, as well as the privacy protocol and the password you want to use. And as always, we have the email capability of sending out email notifications when there are alarm conditions. They've already been in the system version 2.4. And MP enhancements, conference call. Conference call is typically used by managers to quickly connect to his group members. So, for example, let's say I was the tech support manager and I needed in touch with all my tech guys right away. I can an alias set up in the system for a conference call. Dial that alias number. It'll automatically dial all the members that in my tech group, and the phone will automatically auto-answer and connect it to me in a one-way direction where I'm talking and they're muted. So, you know, that can sometimes be a little confusing, like, where is this call coming from? Who's calling me now? Why is my phone going off hook automatically? So now we've added the capability of adding an announcement that can aid to others as they're brought into the conference. So in my example, I might create a audio announcement that says a conference call for the tech group. So that's what will come through their phone into the conference. That I mentioned, all the members of the conference are muted. Now, the new capability, they can dial 0 on their keypad and signal the manager they want to be unmuted so they can talk in the conference. feature enhancement is security purposes, the SIP admin control. And now we've added where phone secure password to go with the secure user password introduced in version 2.3. 2.3, we introduced a more secure user password, which, if you remember, basically composed of your IP address of your server plus exclamation at and pound. But at user level, now we've added a new password at the phone level. We didn't really have that before. It's at the phone level, and default phone password is Aeonix 123 at. Now change this setting and generate a password. There's a button that you can press to automatically generate a very secure password. You elect to manually create your phone password. There are some rules. You have to use strings only, at least 7 characters, at least 1 lowercase character, 1 uppercase character, and 1 special character. Okay, and once that change and you use the Aeonix provisioning, of course, the Aeonix provisioning will update the phone with appropriate phone ID and the newly configured password done. So you need to do it on the Aeonix side, and the provisioning will take care of the rest. And we have much more aware of hacking the system. So we have new alarms in the system that will tell you when there's a SIP password hacking attempt, or that the system has detected a registration attempt to non-existent SIP endpoints, or that there's still a weak SIP password in the system that you should take care of, or there was a SIP registration potential root, and that the system has detected and blocked the registration attempts from potential rogue SIP endpoints. Here's a couple screenshots. My lab system, and I purposely tried to register 3 times with the wrong password, and immediately I got this alarm come up in the system where it's that there was a SIP password hacking attempt, and it specifies which endpoint that was attempted on. In this case, it was endpoint P2112. And as a result of that, what the system's going to do automatically is it's going to unregister that phone and or block. It's going to block registration to that phone. And here, there's a new icon that you can below. At this point, the registration is being blocked for 10 minutes initially, but as you hover above that icon, it will tell you how much time is left. After the 10 minutes expires, it will accept new registration attempts for that endpoint. Okay, so nice new feature. Let's switch over to our live in-house system so we can see a lot more of these alarms as opposed to my lab system, which only has 4 phones in it. So we escape from here over to our in-house quickly. System and the current alarms to start. And so some of the current alarms in the system, and we see that there were some registration potential rogue hack of that for this particular endpoint. I can also see a SIP registration scan. So registration attempts were made on a non-existent SIP endpoint. That's some hacker trying to get into the system, just seeing the different users that we have. A SIP password hacking, where password hacking attempts were made on a particular endpoint. Another registration scan. So this way, we'll have a good idea of what's happening in your system and who's trying, who's trying to get into your system something you could do on the firewall side, and you can see the source IP and block that P from getting in. Okay. If I go to alarms here, and over to that, that's showing all the alarms that we've had for and again, this is our system which has like 7 servers in a cluster all over the world. You know, we have servers in Georgia and China and Israel, and so of course it's all just one clustered system. And so the server alarms that we have, if we had some licensed alarms, we'd see them there. But what new is that these are now on tabs, and we also have added the gateway alarms, which is so you can see the issues with the Wave gateway. So, for example, we had an issue with the trunk on the way on this date and time. Okay. Oh, we have them connecting up to a particular Wave gateway location. Okay, faults on the E1, T1, for example. So, 2.4, we've added the Wave gateway alarms. Back to our PowerPoint. I think we're done with the server side. Okay. Nice new features at the phone level. We have auto redial. And automatically redial a busy or no answer external destination. Now, if you're an NGCP phone or a digital phone, you can activate this feature while hearing the busy signal. With phones, it's a little more difficult. So this on the SIP phones, at this point, the feature can only be activated before dialing the number. So what would typically happen is if you dial the number, you got a busy, you then hang up, activate the feature, dial the number again, and then it would kick in the auto redial. It would put into the list, and you can have up to 20 numbers stored in your auto redial list. So you can try up to 20 numbers continually. A number of attempts. I think default is like 15 attempts before it gives up and cancels doing number anymore. Okay. Flash mode. Flash button we now have a lot of different capabilities with, and 4 different ways they can be configured. Swap, where you press the flash button to toggle back and forth between 2 calls. Or go consultation mode, where you press the button while engaged in a call to put the second party on hold. Now you can dial a third party to consult them privately, and then you press the button again. It will release the consulted party and return you to the second party. Mode is continuous conference. Let's say you want to just keep adding parties to a conference call. So you press the flash to get a 3-party conference, and then press the flash again and continue to add other parties to the conference. So you press flash, dial the next member, flash to add them in, and you can just keep adding parties like that. Of course, you can set the flash to be the old-fashioned disconnect the existing call. So the choices, and those 4 different flash mode button options. And here's a shot of a T46 phone that has programmed a flash button on one of the keys, and in this case, he chose to use consultation mode. The thing I want to show you is we've added new icons to the profile. They're nicer looking, more informative. So here are 3 different new icons that we have. I think this one is the auto dial one, for example. This divert call, and this one flash consultation. So a lot of new, and for every different feature, there'll be a different icon. Okay, icons. Now this is not what's showing on your phone. Of course, what's going to show on your phone is whatever you labeled that button. So I labeled this button flash, that's what it'll show. If I label this divert CMail, it's going to divert to CMail. But the icons are what are going to show while you're in the administrative GUI programming a phone profile. Feature, combine audio. And a lot of you choral guys remember these features. So we're trying to add more and more features to the Aeonix, and we're using the F capabilities, the enhanced SIP functionality to achieve this. And here's another feature called combined audio, and that's where the speaker key can be programmed for combined audio to activate a group listening feature. So we're in this group listening mode. The conversation is being held on the handset as normal, but also both parties' audio is transmitted through the speaker. This is a nice way, like if you're in your office but you want some other folks to listen in on the conversation, but you don't be rude and go on the speakerphone. You can continue on the handset, but your conversation comes to the speaker, so folks sitting in your office listen to the call as well, sides of the conversation that they hear. Support. A user may be configured to have the Aeonix automatically dial the outside line access code. So normally, you always have to dial 9 and the outside number. If you on a per user basis or per sub-profile basis, you specify that you don't want the user to have to dial 9, so they'll just dial the digit phone number with 9. And this is useful for example with fax machines and modem devices. And Coach was just telling me the other day, he set his BRIA client that way because he wanted access to the contacts with his client, but they don't have the 9 in front. But by this way, he doesn't need it. He's able to use all the different contacts that he has. He's using his BRIA client. We've expanded the search options that are in the system. So now users can search and filter lists according to the entered criteria. So a filtered list will display all the values that match the search. And you can do this in different spots. You can do it at the trunk group, income routing tab. We have a lot of DNS numbers programmed, or the incoming call routing, the outgoing call routing, and toll barriers. The configuration in the emails tab, you can see email names are in there. Let's to our system real quick, and let's see where that might come in handy. So go to admin, and a spot is going to be in the trunk groups. And trunk groups, you have, if you have like SIP trunks, like we have, PRI trunks, you can have a very extensive list of digits that are coming in, and I'll find out the stuff that I want to find out all of the DNS that are routed to the CMail, for example. So I put in the CMail, which is 7350 in our system, and let me try it again. So I only want to see the rules that have CMail in it. You know, that have this alias in it. So I'm going to do a search, and now I just filter it, and I see the 2 rules that specify DNS digits that are being routed to 350. Okay, just wanted to see a call are going to tech support, for example, which is the 7300 DID. I can put in 300, and I see the calls that are going in. Actually, in this case, it's the DNS ends in 7300, and I can see where that's being routed. Okay. The search, and the search again is in. It's not just in the incoming routing; it's in a lot of different spots in Aeonix now. Make it a little bit easier for you to find stuff. And Aeonix maintenance tool. Aeonix maintenance tool, and I don't know how many of you have used this. It's been around for a while, but it hasn't been quite as user-friendly as we'd like. But now we're getting there where it's going to become a valuable tool for the technicians out in the field to use. It's a client that is loaded on the tech's computer to monitor the Aeonix, and it helps to identify and solve issues. Now, the enhancements that have been added as of version 2.4, the enhancement is enabling the upgrade. And now the file upload and the run upgrade are now separate processes. So when you upgrade a cluster, you have servers. All those servers have to have the new software file uploaded to them, and the upgrade has to be run on those servers. And in the past, this process was combined. And the problem that would cause is that maybe had a problem doing the upload on one of the servers in the cluster. So because it's combined now, it's the whole upgrade failed. So now by separating them, we take care of the up process first. And if you had a problem with a particular server or whatever, once that process is done, then you can run the upgrade. So that this process is going to be a big help. The other thing that you can do in the maintenance tool is you can see, you can view some call detail recording information. So maybe for troubleshooting purposes, you want to go into the maintenance tool, and then you can look at some of the different calls that were made. Maybe you had problems with certain calls being made, or obscene calls, or whatever. So anyway, that capability now can access through the maintenance tool. And by the way, the login has changed for the maintenance tool. So the new login is just like it is with the default Aeonix, which is root and the word ANX 406729. And that completes our PowerPoint. So Mike, I'll send you, see if we have any questions that anyone's asking out there.